Hey guys, what's going on? So in the video today, I just wanted to talk about some of Grant Stone's new releases and talk about some that I have on the way for myself that I just bought. So let's get into it, shall we? First and foremost, this one's been making all the rounds. This is the Ottawa boot in Natural Minerva. All right, so this is the Natural Minerva, and it's funny because I just ordered some Badalassi Carlo Pueblo leather for my buddy Eric, who I'm going to be making a bag for here shortly. It's in a yellow color, but I was looking at RM Leather Supply, and they sell a lot of this Badalassi Minerva. Minerva, I believe, is synonymous with Vaqueta leather, which is one of the most sought after Badalassi Carlo leathers. And this thing is so, this makeup is so nice. I'm very tempted by it. The only thing stopping me is my natural honey glazed shell cordovan boots that I have, which are also a natural color, basically this very same style. The description is, few natural colored leathers translate well on a finished product. The Badalassi Carlo tannery has one of the richest vegetable tannages available, infused with waxes that allow an unparalleled presentation and patina over time. This boot is surprisingly easy to wear and quickly transforms. The leather upper combined with a double bend leather sole creates a vegetable tan boot from the top to the bottom that will burnish and darken, becoming truly individual. Badalassi vegetable tan leather upper, Leo Last, Goodyear Welt construction, full grain leather cowl lining from Milwaukee, brass eyelets, vegetable tan leather insole, welt and midsole, cork filler with steel shank, full grain leather heel counters, leather outsole. Yeah, and these are super nice. I have other iterations of Grant Stone in Badalassi Carlo tannery leather, including the brass boot in saddle tan veg, the diesel boot in saddle tan veg, and the plain toe blucher in saddle tan veg, all from Grant Stone. This is just one of the most remarkable leathers. This leather develops one of the most remarkable patinas that I've ever seen, and I will love to gawk at pictures when people post these. I don't know, I still might get them because it's on that leather sole, and that leather sole has become my favorite sole over the years. It wasn't a quick realization, it was a very gradual one, and trusting in the wisdom of those who are smarter than me and who came before me, they prefer the leather sole for a reason. And in a nutshell, I did a video talking about the benefits, but in a nutshell, the leather sole just gives way more support. The more leather between your feet and the ground, the more supported you are, the more cushioned you are. It's a cushioning that rubber can never give you. Moving on, these Chelsea boots in dark oak Roughout really caught my eye. These are really nice. Grant Stone full commando sole. That is a beautiful brown too. Only thing stopping me from getting these is I have a pair of brown Chelsea boots, but it's in smooth. It's in a smoother leather. But I do have a pair of Grant Stone Chelsea's in black calf from Danone Tannery Danone. I size the same as my Leo, and the fit is phenomenal. So it says, the dark oak Roughout article is the perfect combination of a heavier weight leather with a soft, forgiving characteristic. This is a true Roughout article, meaning it is full grain leather, but leather is turned inside out, using the flesh side of the surface. Since the full grain is still intact, the leather has its structure and strength while offering the waxed suede texture for the unmatched character. Variations of the Chelsea boot have been a staple throughout the world for nearly 2 centuries. This slip-on pattern dates back to the early 1800s as a riding boot, which is how it originally earned the paddock boot name. Only in the mid-1900s, when the boot was popular in England, was it referred to as a Chelsea, a district in southwest London. This pattern carries over to multiple categories. It's easily dressed up or down, and in certain parts of the world, it's a preferred style for a work boot given the closed pattern and slip-on practicality. The Grant Stone Chelsea is a combination of these two categories. The goal was to find a balance in between Western and refined look. It will fit the bill as the workhorse boot or the daily commuter. Most importantly, we've used strong, proven components to ensure longevity. The UK Last fits a half size large and has a fuller fit throughout, similar to our Leo Last. I agree. I think sizing the same as your Leo is wise. It's just a little bit more narrow in the forefoot. It kind of tapers out. It's not as round as the Leo, but I'm very, very happy with the fit. It's very forgiving, especially with this elastic piece. This is just one killer Chelsea. The Chelsea to end all Chelseas on that commando sole. Totally badass with that waxed flesh Roughout. The pull tab, absolutely necessary for this style of a boot. All right, so moving on to the next one. As you can see here, the tan Essex and the natural Minerva do look similar to one another. So actually another reason preventing me from hopping on this natural Minerva is the fact that I just put in an order for these. This is the brass boot in tan Essex, and I actually, thanks to my buddy Mario, he convinced me to try out a little bit of a new fit. See, the more I talk to people, the more I realize like a lot of different guys play around with different sizes. They don't just stick to one size necessarily. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Like I wore my Snuff Suede Alden Indies yesterday, and I realized like this Snuff Suede is so soft and forgiving. It's not super supportive because of the lining that Alden uses. The lining nor the Snuff Suede is very supportive. And so what that leads to is kind of a very forgiving fit. I could have sized down for added support. It's still like good dimensions for my foot, but to contrast the Snuff Suede Indie with the fit of the 405 in calfskin, the calfskin is it's not stretchy at all, and there's no way I could have sized down in the 405, but in the Snuff Suede Indie, I definitely could have sized down a little bit, just because of the loose temper of the leather and the materials involved. So if you're working with a very high density, very firm temper of a leather, then yeah, you don't want to size down, depending. But yeah, there's so many factors involved. There's almost too many to list right now, but just talking in general, like this brass boot, I decided to go with a size 8, so down a half, and bump it up in width to an E. And that's also something that Randy Wyatt's father recommended when I was there, was sometimes he'll recommend going down a full size, so to like a 7.5, and going with a triple E, so a full size down and bump it up 2 sizes in the width, and you'll get a comparable fit. And I could actually go over the Grant Stone sizing guide and talk about how you can do that. So I decided, I do have a little bit of room in front of my toes in the 8.5, so I decided let's play around. So I went with 8E in this, and I'm very excited to try that out. I know it's going to fit me. It's just going to be interesting to weigh that against, my standard 8.5D. So the brass boot is a combination of robust leathers, rugged outsoles, and all-day comfort. The Floyd Last features the same locked-in heel control, but with higher walls at the toe box to allow forefoot freedom. This boot utilizes our lug sole designed for harsher conditions. Taller lugs and medium-density compound offer a combination of traction and durability. Floyd Last Goodyear Welt Horween Tan Essex, vegetable tanned, brass eyelets and hooks, vegetable tan leather insole, welt midsole, cork filler with steel shank, full grain leather heel counters, lug, sole, and heel. Yeah, I really like the look of this, especially with these natural colored laces. Really complement the look of the boot. I'm a huge fan of this brass boot, this Floyd Last. Yeah, it totally locks in your heel, but then gives a lot of breathing in the toe area. It's really nice. And so yeah, I'm excited to try out kind of a new fit. The other thing I was going to say about that Snuff Suede Indie fitting a little looser was, what's funny is my Grant Stones, I have some Grant Stones in Bourbon Suede. Yeah, and I have the tan suede, I have the storm suede. So yeah, let's talk about these. So I've had these for a while. This is the Ottawa boot in Bourbon Suede. And so what I'm getting at is my Snuff Suede Alden Indies fit a little looser because of the very loose temper of all the components. I would not have sized down, however, in this, because in this Ottawa boot in Bourbon Suede, the reason why it fits me so well is because of the lining is extremely, like, all the materials in the upper are very dense. So Grant Stone would have picked a better cut of leather for the uppers that are like denser and firmer of a temper, as well as the lining, whatever lining they use, which is, this is important, this full grain leather cow lining from Milwaukee. That lining also adds to the support of the boot. It just doesn't stretch. It's just extremely supportive. Like the Leo Last is so roomy on the inside and so forgiving of a fit, just a really good orthopedic fit. But then in addition to that, people always focus on the leather of the uppers without so much of a focus on the lining. Now I can tell you some of the lining in some of my Indonesian boots is also kind of a looser temper. I could tell it's sort of wrinkling and contorting a little bit. Like it's just, the uppers are very top quality. All the materials are top quality, but the lining really is important. And sometimes when you're doing an unlined boot, that's also something to take into consideration. So for an unlined boot, I assume you probably want a higher weight leather of the upper. What I'm getting at is the lining is important, and how much support the lining gives to the boot is going to be important, and it'll really hold the boot's shape as you're wearing it, I guess, and moving with it. Whereas, so like the Alden Indies in Snuff Suede that I'm talking about, it just, the lining nor the Suede gives very much support, but in the Grant Stone iteration, this probably literally almost the same iteration in Grant Stone offers superior support, if that makes sense. And then this brass boot in Earth I also picked up in an 8E. So I went down a half in length. So typically I'm 8.5 D. I went down a half in length and I went up in width. I have about an inch, 3/4 of an inch or an inch in front of my toe. My toe ends about here, I want to say. My toe will end a little closer up, but we'll get to the sizing here in a minute and why I made these sizing decisions. This thing is beautiful. Like at first I glanced at it and I just kind of bypassed it because I have a lot of waxed flesh already, and I kind of thought that my vintage Indies already fit this bill of this boot, but then I saw some pictures on Instagram and they just blew me away. So this is Waxed Commander by Charles F. Stead. The reason I found this boot so appealing is this is a really sort of very dark brown, but in pictures that I've seen on Instagram, it appears almost more of a black. And I really like the look of it. It's a really rich color. $300, not very expensive for what you're getting here. And I really look forward to wearing these and breaking these in. I was debating between getting, so I really wanted also the Color 8 Chromexcel brass boot, but I actually have a pair of Oxblood mock toes on the way, which basically will fill this gap, unfortunately, but I'm still open to getting the diesel boot in Color 8 Chromexcel. Yeah, this is nice. My buddy Dave got these. They're just rubies. They're just brilliant rubies. I love the look of it. I think the plain toe really lends itself to a really good look. Yeah, just so good. So I'll probably end up picking those up eventually too. I don't have a plain toe Oxblood / burgundy colored boot. I have my Vibergs in Color 8 Chromexcel, which are brilliant. So yeah, phenomenal. All right, and so reading through Grant Stone's size guide, this is what I was talking about, what Randy was telling me about going down in length, but increasing in width is good. So in grading widths, the length is also adjusted to hold the correct proportions. For example, an individual who wears a 10.5 D comfortably would wear a 10E or a 9.5 triple E. So D is medium width, E is extra width, triple E is extra wide. An E width is only slightly longer, but over half a size fuller. The E width is perfect when looking for a little extra room in the instep or ball area / toe box. Triple E width is significantly fuller in the instep and ball area. Ideal for those who find most footwear overly narrow or pinching their forefoot. So there should be about 3/4 to 1 inch of room in front of the toes. I'll read that again. When grading widths, the length is adjusted to hold the correct proportions. If an individual who wears a 10.5 D comfortably they would also wear a 10E comfortably. So that's down a half size in length, up a size in width, or even a 9.5 triple E. So going a full size down in length and 2 widths up will also basically work. And I had a conversation with my friend Mario recently, and he'll do this. Like if Grant Stone is sold out in his size, say it's a 10.5D, and they have a 10E, he'll buy the 10E. Or even if it's a run that's really sold out and they have a 9.5 triple E, he'll buy those, and he's happy with all of them. So that's just a little extra information on how you can maneuver in terms of fit. Like, you don't always have to get the same size, and that's why I'm trying a slightly different size this time around. This seems to be a common practice. This was something that Randy would recommend when he would give sizing advice if a certain size were sold out. And this is something that, like shoe salesmen and a lot of the pros will get into. I've heard a lot of guys talk about this, and I just find it to be an interesting concept that you don't always have to stick with the same size. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to get everybody together and focus in on some of these new drops. I think they're really nice, and I'm really looking forward probably most to the brass boot in tan Essex. I still might splurge and get the Ottawa boot in natural Minerva. Those are super sweet too. And I'm really enjoying the diesel boot in Cognac Ostrich as well. I did a video on these. I got these. I've worn them once. I'm very impressed by everything about it. It's a very hardy leather. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will leave links to all the boots that I discussed in the description below. Anyways, I look forward to seeing future upcoming drops from Grant Stone. I think they do a really good job. They're pushing the envelope, they're picking new leathers, they're pushing the boundaries, and they're really developing really nice designs, and I just love everything they're doing. So anyways, give Grant Stone a look, and you can follow me on Instagram. My username is AeroSurferLV. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see y'all in my next video.